usually we wouldn't have this opportunity if the pandemic wasn't a thing. You're always working nonstop. We're coming up on a full year of this. Did you ever believe that you'd go a full year with not a single show and anybody in attendance at the Arcada, amongst many other venues that
Yeah, you know what?
you work with? We're coming up on a full year. It's crazy.
I mean, obviously nobody, if I could predict that, I'd be buying lottery tickets. I wouldn't be in the music business, that's for sure.
Right.
It's interesting. Even the government, all the funding help that they offered, all the
Mm-hmm.
formulas, we're all supposed to be back at work by maybe at the latest May. And
Sure.
it turned to June, and then nobody, not one person thought. Even some people on both sides of the political table, well,
Right.
I knew this was going to be big. Nobody did. So
Mm-hmm.
of course not. It's just amazing. But here we are. I mean, it flew. It definitely flew.
Yeah. What has this period taught you about yourself, and more so about just life in general? Because obviously, when you're on the go working as much as you are, you miss moments in life, um, big moments, stepping stone moments, whether it be with family, daughters, your children. You miss moments because of the fact that you're so busy, whatever it may be, whatever the moment may be. Did it give you time to kind of reflect and just really cherish this time as a family, because you have this and you're making up for just constantly being busy all the time?
Yeah, I mean, that's another obvious answer. I mean, who wouldn't, appreciate more time with their
Sure.
family, more time with themselves, understanding what you're all about, maybe a hobby, maybe your health, maybe your
Right.
sanity. But I don't know that I'm taking that much about that. Um, it's a give and take. Sure, there's a lot of things that I got to do, and I got to
Right.
spend time with my family, and my daughter's getting older, and my puppy's getting older, and it's just stuff that you want to you want to do with your family.
Hmm.
But I try to do that anyway. There's also the negatives too. What you're missing. I
Sure.
think the thing that I'm taking away from this really is appreciation. I've always had a great appreciation for my family and wife and daughter and everybody. Just you're trying to have an appreciation for your life.
Right.
But I have an appreciation for even just the simpler things. I think that's what this whole thing taught us, is
Hmm.
just appreciation for the little things that they say, the finer things in life. I mean, just being able to hug somebody, being
Right.
able to shake a hand, being able to share a meal, being able to do, I mean, all these things. My gosh, being able to walk into a store and not have everybody like walk around you like you have the plague. I mean,
Right.
it's just a weird dynamic that's going on. So, I miss those times when, philosophically, I would, what do you call it, body surf on
Right.
people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, never did it, but especially these days,
Right.
what's that? But philosophically, the body surf across your world is something that I miss tremendously. And even in the live music. I mean, my gosh, people say I miss shows. I miss shows. Oh my gosh, do I miss the shows?
Yeah.
Not only will the music sound better, but when I'm backstage and I'm looking at all the people jamming and having a great time and forgetting their woes and forgetting their troubles, man, oh man, just the elation it's going to be. It's not just good music. It's going to be great music.
Sure. No, I think a lot of it too is I don't think we really took, I think we took music for granted and have taken it over the years. I think this moment right now is just really putting in perspective how lucky and, you know, yeah, just lucky we are to have music, because going through something like this long with no music would be absolutely horrendous. So I think there's, everyone who's made music, who plays music, has garnered far more respect amongst the masses because of that. So I mean, it's been great. Now you got a whole bunch of stuff going on. For those who might not know you, um, this is the man Ron Onesti. He's a entertainment guru, mogul, business. He just does everything. You've got a whole bunch of different venues. Talk a little bit about the progress at the Arcada and the work going on at the Display Theater for the listeners in the Chicagoland area, because we've got a lot of exciting stuff going on.
Sure. Well, it is. I mean, we've taken advantage of time to renovate not only renovate our St. Charles properties, but
Sure.
also we entered into a contract with the city of Des Plaines, and we're going to take over the Des Plaines Theater, and we had a major renovation plan there. So those wheels were already turning in February.
Right.
Both projects full underway with renovation. I mean, complete multi-million-dollar renovations of both properties.
Hmm.
And then when the pandemic hit, those dollars and that funding and that wheel was already turning. So that
Right.
hasn't stopped really. So at the St. Charles properties, if you come to the Arcada Theater, I tell you what hasn't changed is the magic, the splendor, that feeling that you're in the 1920s. It was
Right.
open in 1926. We've maintained that, but infrastructurally, all brand new power, all brand
Mm.
new plumbing, all new restrooms, fire safety. We've added a place called the Barcada, which is a tavern-style bar, upscale with all video gaming, video poker. We've got a new restaurant called Rock and Za, the rock and roll pizza and pinball experience, and we've got 6 vintage pinball machines in there. With all rock and roll style. We've got I think we got Aerosmith, Kiss, Guns N' Roses, that kind of stuff. So that's just my great recipes: wood burning fire, roasted pizzas, and they're all my recipes in an oven we just got in from Italy. Across the hall, next door was a sporting goods store since the
Right.
1950s.
Hmm.
We got that building, and we put holes in the walls and connected the 2 buildings. And again, we're putting my restaurant concept there called Rockin' Ravioli. It's my Italian restaurant and all my recipes, and you're going to love that as well. Again, it's another rock and roll culinary experience. And then upstairs, the Club Arcada Speakeasy, of course, we've
Right.
done a lot of improvements with regards to the kitchen and the server station. We have a VIP experience. The dressing rooms, the entertainers are going to love all the upgrades. But again, all these upgrades, all these great things are amazing, but you're not losing the splendor. The other big announcement that we have is something called the Arcadian Suites, which second floor, our corporate offices. We bought another building down the block. We moved everybody down there. That building next door, we took apart that whole second floor. We joined both buildings on the second floor. So we're putting 11 super suites, overnight hotel style suites, but they're all themed. We have a Sinatra suite, an Elvis suite, a Zeppelin suite, Prince, a Kiss, a Johnny Cash. I mean, really, really cool experiences because everything about us, whether it's food, whether it's music, now overnight stay, it's all about the experience. So that's what you're going to have in St. Charles. In Des Plaines, it's a place that was really practically just, it should have been demolished many years ago.
Right.
It was condemned and really, really bad shape. We took it down to the brick. We removed floors and ceilings. I mean, really gutted the whole thing, but still maintained the stage and the proscenium and some of the original art deco elements from 1925 when it was built. And so you're going to see a theater similar to the Arcada. Even the colors, I've got my coppers and my brasses and my metallic golds. You're going to love it. And we actually added a balcony there. So we're Arcada's at 900 seats. That'll be about 825 or so. We've got a restaurant. The first floor, again, another wood burning pizza experience. It's called Des Pizza because it's in Des Plaines. And it's kind of an homage to some of the elements of Des Plaines. Yeah. You'll see some antiques there. We've got the original neon sign from the Sugar Bowl back in the 20s, was the restaurant right down the street. We've got a plaque, a metallic plaque from the original McDonald's, that original McDonald's that was in Des Plaines, the first Ray Kroc McDonald's, that kind of stuff. So that's why I'm calling it Des Pizza, because it's about Des Plaines.
Yeah.
And then on the second floor, we're putting in our Bourbon and Brass, another speakeasy experience. So again, the Des Plaines situation is really, really cool. And everything's going to open up. Well, we'll be ready, I'd say 4 to 6 weeks on all the properties.
Oh my
now,
gosh.
what happens from our governor and mandates, that's we'll see what happens.
Right. You touched on you touched on several things in there, and the one thing that stands out the most is your effort and drive to maintain the originality of both structures from its glory days. What was so important about maintaining the the main kind of theme of infrastructure and kind of design from their glory days? What was so important about maintaining that? Obviously, displays. I'm guessing a lot of it has to do with, growing up in an area like you want to bring it back to what you remember. But what's the big factor in maintaining that?
Well, you touched on it, Christian. I mean, people, generations have grown up at the Arcada
Right.
Theater and at the Displays. Arcada built in 1926,
Hmm.
Displays 1925. So you've had generations, multi generations pass through there. So it's what drew me to the Arcada in the first place. It's what
Hmm.
kept me there. It's what had people. The Arcada was, look. It's a great place. You know it
Sure.
just like
Yeah.
anybody else. I mean, you've been part of our crew there, our family for a long time, and there's that vibe, but before it was, I mean, we had challenges. I
Sure.
mean, we only had a couple of bathrooms for 900 people. We had great heat and great air conditioning, just bad timing because the air conditioning was great in January and the heat was great in July, but when we needed it, it didn't work.
Right.
It goes on and on. And people still came. And why? Because of that vibe, that feel, that homey, um, loving, you just felt like you belonged,
Right.
And so I was very careful not to lose that vibe because a lot of renovations, they make it all contemporary, they make it beautiful,
Hmm.
but there are many, many venues. And I know this for a fact because I get calls every once in a while from theaters around the country who put a ton of money, millions, but they're still not drawing. They want to know what's my magic formula that take a small place in St. Charles, not downtown Chicago,
Right.
St. Charles, over an hour away from Chicago. And it was, like I said, it was really terrible when I first got it. Believe me,
Hmm.
the way the way people know it, that's Madison Square Garden compared to what it was. Um, and it's that vibe that you can't really describe. So it was very important for me to keep the vibe, to keep the beauty, the wonder, the beauty, that original splendor that kept people coming, even when it was less than a wonderful experience on some occasions. They still packed. We still sold out every night. So
Right.
now this is kind of a way to reward all those people who spend so many nights there, and the ladies in long lines, and sweating was terrible. It was just
Hmm.
their shirts, the pits of their bodies from perspiration, and the guys in long lines in bathrooms. It went through all of that. So now we've got about 30 different bathrooms. We've got great new HVAC. We've got new restaurants. We've got, I mean, it's just a really upscale, yet still classic Arcada or Des Plaines theater feeling. So it's going to be great.
Yeah. And that's it. That's important to maintain that. Now, when you took over the theater at the Arcada, what was it, 2005, 2008?
Yeah.
Around there. Okay. I know you went to DePaul for business. When you went to college for business, did you have any aspirations of specifically focusing on, business within music entertainment, or did you have another, kind of focus in business, and you found out about the situation in St. Charles and go, oh my gosh, we can't let it go to waste. What can I do? What was the original goal as far as getting into business? I know that was always the plan, but was entertainment, music business something that garnered your interest from the start?
Well, well, you're giving me a little bit too much credit about having a plan. I really didn't have a plan, to be honest with you. My whole life, from a business standpoint or
Sure.
from a vocation standpoint, is truly evolutionary.
Hmm.
I started out when I was 11 years old in a restaurant in a Jewish deli in Oak Park, and it taught me a lot about customer service, about different types of people. You work in a restaurant. It's a local restaurant that has local people who come all the time.
Hmm.
You learn about life. I mean, I suggest everybody should work at a restaurant in their life at some point, the right restaurant. Fast food is probably not the best experience. What I'm talking about a situation where you interact with people,
Hmm.
where you learn how to talk, where you learn how to hustle, where I mean, I had this big old Jewish guy. His name was Ben. He was brutal. He was not nice. He was not, but you know what? He taught me about hustle. He taught me about responsibility. He taught me about cleaning it right the first time. Believe me, I got spanked many times, bar for not wiping a table right. So even now, when I see a busboy, when I'm at a restaurant and the busboy moves a salt and pepper shaker to wipe behind it, I always give him a tip because that shows he's got passion. He's proud of his product. Those are the kind of things I learned very, very young. And then I just started getting involved in things. I didn't know I'd own theaters or be even in the music business. I didn't play. I mean, I played a little bit, but it wasn't like, I'm not like a lifetime musician. But I love music. I love rock and roll. And I was born, I feel, in the right time. I was born early enough in rock and roll history to understand the music of the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, but late enough to be able to bring it to young people like you. So I did not set out to do this. It was something where I was in this part of a business. I was in printing, and then we were in, that's my brother and I, by the way,
Right.
in
Of course.
printing and signs, and then we were doing festivals, and then we were putting on shows, and then, one thing, then I went into management, and I was managing the American English, the Beatles tribute band, and got them to be a very successful point. And they were used to play, one of the only live shows the Arcada did at the time was American English.
Oh,
The rest of the time was a $4 Bruin View movie house. It was really bad. Oh my God, it was terrible shape. So the first year, when I was managing American English, we played the Arcada, sold it out, it was great. The next year, I was trying to get a hold of the owners at the time, and they didn't. And the gentleman didn't answer. I thought, I don't know what was going on, because it was a good thing. It sold out, And I drove all the way out there. It was a hop, skip, and a plane right away from where I was living at the time. And I saw the dumpsters out with wood sticking out, and they were actually not demolishing the building, Christian, but what they were doing is repurposing the theater part, putting different floors in to make it an office building.
Oh, wow.
And that's when I said, wait a second. So I started calling the owner of the building and making them offers. And that whole thing, be careful what you wish for. Well, we're having our daughter that same month. And,
oh, wow.
And all of a sudden, I got the call. I was literally at the hospital or the doctor's office, got the call, it's yours. I went, holy cow, now what? And I'll tell you, the first 2 years outside, the first show was amazing. But after that, the next 2 years was just 15 people every show, 20 people every show.
Oh,
I thought for sure it wasn't going to happen.
Really?
Oh yeah, it was brutal. It was brutal. And then don't forget the 2008 when the whole economy caved.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
right there. And I just opened up another restaurant there, which was the Old Church Inn. I was called the Onesti Dinner Club, high-end steak and seafood and everything.
Wow.
And then the economy caved. So again, hung on by my fingernails and built it up. We put money into it, just kept recycling. Whatever money we brought in, went right back into the theater.
Right.
And basically here we are.
Yeah, I think it's worked out. No, and obviously you mentioned your brother. I didn't forget him. Rich and you both kind of brought this together amongst many other people. But what was so? Was there any difficulty in making that collaborative decision as brothers about getting into this together? Was there any hesitation, like, they say you never do business with them? Like, was there any hesitation about that because of the prospective possibility of the what ifs, or was there never any doubt that you two could do this together?
No, I mean, I gotta say, first of all, it would have been everything I've done in my life, basically, with regards to business, would have been impossible without my brother. It's always been, he's always the guy behind the curtain.
Right.
He's always the guy that, I'm out there and it's everyone's, hey Ron, but he's a hero. He gets things done. He's the one that makes sure that technically things happen. And he's had to take Scotch tape and paper clips more often than once, man, to make things happen. You wouldn't believe, well, you would know because you've seen it. But sometimes I just marvel at the things he does. And all along, he's always been my little brother. Sorry, he's 6 years younger. And when I was starting with all this crazy, I've always got a lot of, people have called me, I don't know, a visionary or whatever, but I think that's Latin for nut job, because that's really how I approach things, because I get excited about things.
Yeah.
And Rich has always come along for the ride on my crazy ideas. We had a radio show together. He's the funniest guy I know. We had a lot of experiences like that, but I can go into talking about Rich for hours. But no, there was, to answer your question, never any hesitation. He's always trusted me with my crazy ideas, and it's been like, okay, I got this idea, I'd like to do this, and he makes it happen. on so many fronts with regards to the technical aspect of
Right.
things, the genius with stuff. So no, we had I started as a busboy at a Jewish deli, and then as I became the meat slicer and became a little bit older there, and I was let's see, I was 17, 18,
Hmm.
brought him in. He was 12 as a busboy at that Jewish deli, so he followed that. We had a retail store. We had all the printing. We did silk screening and did a thing called Softball City. And
Oh, wow.
I was out there. It was my idea with making it happen. It was all about baseball. We had it for 12 years. But who's the guy in the back printing the shirts? That was Rich.
Rich.
So then again, the same thing with the theater, same thing with restaurants, same with the festivals.
Hmm.
As I got us involved in festivals, and there was never any thought about it. Rich is, I took care of one part of it, and when it came to the stage and the sound, lights, and the production part, Rich took care of it.
Right.
And even now, we're doing with all this renovation. Who's the guy there at 3 a.m. trying to run IT wires? I think that's even how you call it. I don't know. Cat 5. I learned that. It's got to
Fiber
be
optic
something.
wires or stuff.
Yeah, sure. That's what it
I don't
is.
know.
Anyway, he's got a spool of something that he's on ladders and walking through ceilings and putting security cameras up and stuff, because that's him. So no, he's always been beyond supportive.
Hmm.
I mean, to my face, I know for a fact he's had other opinions,
Right.
but I'll
As
give you a
does
say, and I
everyone.
don't blame him. But you're right. But at the end of the day, he's always been there for me and for Onesti Entertainment, and that's why it's not Ron Entertainment; it's
Right.
Onesti Entertainment.
Right. And I think sometimes people overlook that too, and you can't.
No,
I
not
think just
sometimes, all the time.
well, and a lot of it too is it goes back to the fact that you don't see him because he's working like crazy. Very weird. What I
That's right.
mean, if you saw him, he's either outside taking a little break or the show's long over. So yeah, I
Mhm,
totally agree with that. Now you mentioned
mhm.
one word in there that I really want to touch on, and that was hero. Not only obviously your brother and he was a big hero and everything, but you had a couple other heroes, big heroes for you, parental heroes, father, mother.
Yep.
But I want to touch on your father. Everyone's relationship with their father, mine with my relationship with my dad is
Yes.
bigger than ever. For you, what did your father instill um, in you guys growing up that you still to this day live with? And how did his parental guidance kind of mold you into the person you are today, and your mother?
Well, I mean, he was all immersed in. He was a tailor,
Hmm.
and 7 days a week, every day, he got up. And I tell you what, one of the things that I don't say much about him that I haven't really said, but I don't think I've ever said this to anybody really, but I remember he woke up every day. He had a shirt, a suit, a tie,
Hmm.
a shirt and tie every day. Yeah, and he showed about just immersing himself in his craft, the pride. I mean, he would he was a designer, so
Oh
people
wow.
got to understand what a tailor is. Some people think a tailor is you got a zipper that's broken, or you got something, they fix it. Yeah,
Right.
they do that, but when you try to fit people, and everybody's different, we know that. But when I say different, because I had that, he would do the measure thing with,
Hmm.
I would do the measuring thing with him to help him, and people's arms are a quarter inch longer, their
Yeah.
shoulder over here is this degree, and this degree, and their rise is that, all this stuff. And you have to take those numbers and make a pattern of paper, and he would cut it to the 32nd of an inch, and then cut the material, and then the process was unbelievable. So I think, to answer your question, I got his work ethic, we got his attention to detail, his pride in his product. Oh my gosh, when he would take a step back and look at it when he finally put it on, that look on his face, I could see it today. Uh, it was a look that I would strive for in my life. If I could look at something that I created
Hmm.
somehow, or that we created somehow, and have that same look, even a part, kind of a form of that look, that sense of pride, that sense of accomplishment. And you know what? I do get that. Again, when I'm backstage and I'm watching all the not just the entertainers, because
Hmm.
they're working.
Right.
but it's those people in front that are just loving it. And we did that. We made that happen. The way the speakeasy looks, the way the theater looks, we made that happen. So, I think that's the biggest thing I got from my dad is the pride in the product that we put out there for people.
Absolutely. Now, I'll touch on Hero again. Given the fact of the unique job in which you and your brother hold, and many other within Onesti Entertainment, um, how hard is it, and is it still something very kind of weird to get used to when people consider you or call you their hero? Because you've made many heroic moments, or you for many people who come to the theater. I mean, I've working in the box office, people literally show me their, their flight tickets from flying from Texas to the theater, then to fly back that night to go back home, all because of you, because they would never be able to see that band again because of, whatever reason. Case in point two, that's the Kenny Wayne Shepherd poster from the hallway hanging up. But
Yeah, right.
so there's a lot of those
That's
moments.
your guy. I know that.
Exactly.
Well,
How hard is it for
yeah.
you, and is it a little weird to accept the title of hero, and how do you deal with that? Would you consider yourself a hero?
I don't.
Many
I
do.
don't accept it. I don't accept it at all. I mean,
Yeah.
sure, I could be a hero. I am a big hero. I'm a huge hero.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
then you look at other people, like the doctors and the nurses and the
Yes.
frontliners and all those people. And then I'm like, well, maybe I'm not such a hero. I wouldn't call it a hero, Christian. I mean,
There's so many
look,
different
again,
meanings
I
for
have a
that word.
product. Yeah, I mean, well, there's one meaning for me,
Yeah.
and a hero are those people that fight, the people that go to work every day not knowing if they're going to come home that night.
Right.
Those people that choose. It's one thing to get drafted,
Hmm.
and like it used to be the draft, and you got to go, and I don't want to go, and you try to escape out of it. There are those that walk up to an office and say, hey, I want to fight for my country. And
Right.
they leave their family for a year, 2 years, 3 years, come back with one of two arms or whatever it is, or don't come back at all.
Hmm.
Our people in our first responders, they're wearing these uniforms or targets. They're going out and saying, look, here's my nice shiny badge, Mr. Criminal. Here I am. And you don't know who they are. I mean, I can go on and on. So
Right.
those are heroes. What we do, though, I'm really proud of what we do, though. I really, really am, because, again, I think, providing it's the music part that is the hero as far as I'm concerned. And we do provide that. We do provide it in a great way. I got to say, I'm proud of the way we do it. And I do it only because, or the way I do it comes out really well because I'm a fan. I love the music. All these people, Kenny Wayne. I mean, all these, KWS has been one of my favorites forever since he was, smaller. All these guys, these are people that I like, and I'm fortunate that I love mariachi. I love polka. I love big band. I love all kinds of stuff, and of course, classic rock, heavy metal, all that stuff. So
Right.
a lot of people say, when you ask them, what kind of music do you like? And so many people say, I like all music. Well, I can honestly say, I love all music. There's very few. Really, I love ethnic music. I've worked with over 80 ethnic groups.
Wow.
I love it all. And the fact of the matter is that, again, I put on these shows that I like. Every single show, for the most part, that you see at one of my places is a show that I would personally buy a ticket to. And it just so happens that my likes represent a lot of the likes of people out there. So again, Christian, far from a hero, brother. I'm proud of our product. Right. I would say I'm a relatively good business person, and I'm honest and I'm sincere. And that doesn't make me a hero. I mean, I'm a real person, and I love people. I sincerely do. Everybody I hug, I mean it. You know it. I mean it.
Yeah,
But that's I don't think that makes me a hero. There are heroes out there, and I would be, if they had a lineup, here are heroes, and they put all these other people, and then they call my name, I wouldn't even walk out. I would not want to be compared to true heroes.
Right. Well, I guess what I was just trying to say with that was, you hear that a lot from a lot of people, and they tell you for one reason or another why they're saying that. But what I was trying to get to was, how do you accept that? And obviously, I understand the heroes are frontline workers. They are the one putting themselves selflessly in front of, whatever, danger is getting in the way of something. But that term does get used sometimes lightly. And I just wanted to see how you
The
feel
reason
with the
why,
reacting.
where I have heard it, Christian,
Hmm.
as far as a hero, is the fact that what I've done,
Hmm.
or I've achieved in my personal career,
Sure.
and what we got these, we put on shows.
Right.
I've got my restaurants, I've got my recipes. People have talked to me in that respect, where they, you've hit a plateau that I can only dream of. I mean,
Mm.
really, what people see, who wouldn't want my life for what
Right.
they see? They see me on stage. They see me hanging on Facebook with all the celebrities. They see me hosting a dinner and they're my recipes and my name is on all who wouldn't want that?
Right.
Unfortunately, they don't realize that's all of that is 3% of it. The
Yeah.
other 97% is all the heartache, all the hard work, all the ups and downs, more downs than ups. That's part of it. It's part of everybody's world. So
Hmm.
I'm
Sure.
not special that way. But no, I think by us providing something that
Mm.
we can be proud of and that people really are affected. I've had several situations where people have lost a loved one, or just the music is really, really
Right.
important. There's a couple, and some of these stories. You've heard these stories
Hmm.
when you're in rock stock there. And they would say, like, we had this one guy, because I tell my people who answer the phones, and Rick and everybody,
Right.
I say, I want to hear, if there's a story to be
Hmm.
that's being told about it, I want to know about it.
Right.
And so Rick had told me once that this guy called and wanted to know if the UFO show was going to happen, because it
Hmm.
was the weather was going to be challenging, and if we had like special seating, because their brother was very, very ill, and they really wanted him to see the show.
Right.
But then they decided to not to do it, because we were talking about the seats and this and that. So I called him back up, and the guy said, "Yeah, we're three brothers, and they live like 2 hours away." And they said, "We're three brothers. Our one brother is terminal with cancer,
Mm.
but his favorite band is UFO. But he, you know what? We realized he's just got to be too weak." And I said, "Is he? I mean, how bad?" He's like, "No, he's on his way out." And I was like, "Wait a second." I said, "Hang on, let's work this out." I said, "If you pull up in the alley, there's a door right by the alley." I said, "We got seats right there. Matter of fact, if I got to put a chair in the doorway, we could do
Right.
that." I said, just you guys got to bring him here, and we'll make. He's got to see the music. If the music is so important to him." So they called me back. They said, "Well, we'll give it a try. I don't know if they can. He's even weak enough. He was so weak." So they pulled it. The van. I'll never forget it. The van came up. We took him out of the van. He was in a wheelchair. That door out by the
Right.
alley
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Opened the door, put the wheelchair right there in the door. I mean, not 10 feet from his van. And the UFO came out and he went crazy. It was
Mm.
such a great night. And the brothers were all together, like they used to be jamming in the 70s, the UFO. And then I had the band come down, take pictures with him, and they gave him drumsticks. It was a great night. Well, he wound up passing away the next day.
Mm.
But they said his brothers, they said that was what he needed. He said he was so happy. And to this day, they stay in touch.
Yeah.
So, again, I get an opportunity.
Sure.
The music gives me opportunities, and I don't take it lightly.
Mm.
And I can tell you, there's probably 100 of those stories that I would have
Yeah.
over the years. I mean, just happened this past weekend. One of our staff members who's been a little bit on hard times is a performer. And he hasn't performed since March. And he called and he said, "Hey, I'd like to finally propose to my girl."
Oh, wow.
And he said, would you put like will you marry me or something on the marquee?
Oh.
I said, "Yeah, I could do that." I said, "But you're part of the speakeasy. You've been here. Your daughters work here, and you should be a part of this." And I said, "If you want to, the speakeasy's all cleaned. It's just we're not using it. But why don't you come up and ask her there? Because that place is so special to you, because he worked for us."
Hmm.
Oh my God, that would be wonderful. I said, "I'll tell you what we'll do." I said, "Saturday night, you come up there. And since we're not doing anything out with
Right.
places in Oakland," I said, "I'm going to make you guys a very romantic dinner personally, and put a video up on the screen and put candles up. It'd be a beautiful romantic situation. It's all on me." He starts tearing up. He couldn't believe it. This past Saturday, it happened. I cooked them this beef tenderloin, and we did Rich, of course, took care of the video situation, it was nobody else there. I mean, they had a couple family members, and he got down on one knee and totally surprised her, and it was incredible. And he goes, this is probably the most incredible outside of the birth of my daughters, probably the most incredible night. And what did it, what for me, what did it cost,
Yeah.
beef tenderloin? I mean, so again, I treat this opportunity that I have very, very seriously. And if I can help anybody and change their life because of the music, because of the venue, because of the food, man, I'm all about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, I know for me, when I used to do journalism, there would be times where I'd have a hard time trying to separate the journalism, aspect of it and, a fan, given the fact of me and age with some of the, basketball players like Kevin Durant. I'm like, oh, I'm here to do a job, but oh my gosh, Kevin Durant. Over the years, has there been a few musicians, or if you can, what was one musician that was literally like, oh my God, like a little kid in a candy store for you? Um, Even though obviously it's a business, but do you still have that little kid inside of you that has a hard time drawing that line? It's normal, obviously.
Yeah, man. I mean, I got my peers in the business are all like too cool to admit that they're starstruck. I'm not starstruck. I'm starstruck. I got no
Yeah.
problem being
Oh, I have
starstruck.
no
I mean,
problem.
look
Yeah.
at these people. They sold millions of albums. They sang in front of arenas and people all over the world and sang for kings and princes and presidents. Um, yeah, I mean, there was one. I mean, I love the legends and icons, Christian, and you know
Hmm.
that. And you see
Yeah.
some people we have, like even some of the people that I have. I mean, again, they're much older than I, and I probably had no business getting them. And I'll tell you what, some of these shows, I lost a ton of money. I didn't care because I wanted to have them.
It's
So
about the
I
music.
guess aside from some musical icons, of course, like Paul Anka has always been something very special to me and my family. And when I started, or Frank Sinatra Jr., Frank Sinatra, some of these people, I got to Tony Bennett, Connie Francis became my Aunt Connie. Some of these legends, totally, I do drop my jaw sometimes, but also people like Melissa Etheridge, Sheryl Crow, some of these people as well. I can tell you that the stuff that really blew me away, Chris, are some of the legends and the Hollywood legends. Like we did Mickey Rooney's 89th birthday party. To have
Oh
Mickey
wow.
Rooney there. I mean, I grew up with Mickey Rooney. I mean,
Yeah.
you're a couple of years younger than I. Um, but I grew up with Mickey Rooney, and we did his show. I had Patty Page do her 80th birthday. Shirley MacLaine. We did a whole Q&A thing, and it was great. Nancy Sinatra, Barbara Eden, I Dream of Jeannie. We did a whole Q&A thing. Debbie Reynolds. I mean, Kevin Costner. I mean,
Yeah.
these are just great, great names that are just. I did a Q&A for 2 hours with Priscilla Presley,
Oh
and she was
wow.
one of the coolest people I've ever met. And we talked about it. And it was really interesting because I got a call. Uh, I don't know, a week before the Priscilla Presley thing, because they told me. I said, what can I say or not say? I mean, I want to be,
Right.
my God, Sophia Loren's another one, by the way. Anyway, I was what do you say? What shouldn't you say? I mean, there was obviously some controversy around Elvis, and they said, well, someone will get in touch with you and they'll give you some parameters. All right, good, and I'm doing my homework and getting facts and dates and
Mm.
different antidotes and anecdotes rather, and then I get this call and they said, hi Ron, this is Priscilla. I'm like, Priscilla who? I'm like, what do you mean? That's Priscilla Presley. I said,
Uh,
hi. Oh my God. She said, yeah, they said you want to know about the show and what you could, I'm like, uh, yeah, hang on. Let me get off the freaking floor. And I can't believe I'm talking to the bride of Elvis Stein right now. So, and I said, I just want to be, I just want you to know that I want to be very respectful of your time, of just everything. Like, what should I not? She said, look, and at the time, Lisa Marie was this is before her son, obviously it was
mhm.
terrible, but um, she said, just don't really touch too much about Lisa Marie right now. She's going through some legal things, but otherwise, everything is open. Whatever you want to know.
Oh
Want to know
wow.
about her sex life? You want to know about like boxers or briefs? Whatever you want to know. I'm like, come on, really? And 2 hours. Well, first of all, I spent the 3 hours before the show with her. We were up in the chaplain room in the speakeasy,
Uh-huh.
and just sitting there and hanging. I kept on bringing out food and sitting with her. I mean, she got to be, gave me her cell number. I mean, we just really a great relationship, at least then.
Uh-huh.
And then it was just her and I on stage in two chairs, and I sat on her lap, and we're just goofing around, and she just couldn't have been more wonderful. So, again, you're thinking Priscilla Presley, we're buddies,
Right.
or some of these other people. I mean, I'm just a huge, like I said, I'm starstruck a lot more than you would think. I mean, a lot of this stuff is old hat to me, sure, but
Hmm.
at the end of the day, when I see these people, even people like the guys that you interviewed, Dewey and Jerry from America, I mean, those guys have been doing it 52, 53 years.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
insane.
their show is ridiculous. It's so good. Every song's a hit. Mark Farner from Grand Funk, Sedaka, even all these these hair bands, Warrant, Y&T, just all of them are just. I'm a big fan, and I am starstruck, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah, you should be. Now, another thing you're really proud of, and I wanted to bring this up because I feel so bad because we live in a nowadays where people take little clips and bits of things and then share just that little bit when in fact you're missing the rest of that
Mhm.
bit that it just really fully explains what's actually happening. And I felt like during the summer, and I wanted to bring it up just for a little bit, is the importance of you know, preserving and, just your Italian heritage. You come from a huge, obviously Italian family, Onesti. There's no beating around the bush there. It's Italian right away. What is
You
what
might get beat around the bush, I can tell you that.
what is the past summer really taught you about education and just just knowledge about the deep, rich history of being an Italian, and what makes you so prideful and so passionate about promoting and continue to supporting your great heritage throughout all this craziness that we're going through.
Well, I mean, you're referencing the whole Columbus statue and
Right?
Columbus
Yeah,
Day
yeah.
holiday and that the issue,
Specifically the Trevor
and
Noah thing, because I felt so bad for that, because it was like,
yeah,
just a little clip, and then, it doesn't, it needed the
yeah.
full clip. Exactly.
Well, okay. So what you're talking about again, the city of Chicago, with all the looting and all that stuff that was going on.
Right.
Um, the city of Chicago, the mayor decided to take down the Columbus statues, or three of them in the city,
Mm-hmm.
because they were getting pelted. Policemen, police officers were getting hurt. Matter of fact, from the one riot that happened down at Grant Park, Columbus
Right.
statue. There's a police officer that's now off the job, lost sight in one of his eyes.
Ugh.
Just a very terrible thing. People were throwing frozen bottles of
Mm.
water, and it just was really terrible. So they took them down. And the challenge here, and I become president of the organization now.
Yes.
That is the umbrella organization of over 50 local groups here, Italian American organizations, and it's also the group that has produced a Columbus Day parade since its inception.
Wow.
So, I'm kind of leading the charge on this issue,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people are making it about indigenous people, Columbus, all these perceived facts about Columbus and what he
Right.
represents in colonization and pain and suffering with slaves and indigenous people, and just all this kind of stuff that, frankly, now I've got the facts, and there are facts on both sides of the table.
Sure.
The issue here, Christian, is that Columbus Day has become the one day out of the year when Italians and Italian Americans come together and
Right.
we celebrate our heritage. I got married on Columbus Day. It's a big
Oh, wow.
deal.
Yeah.
And yeah, I met her at Elena in the Columbus Day parade. I mean,
That's
it
awesome.
was something very, yeah, I mean, it's something near and dear to our hearts. It was something that we grew up with. Again, it was food and dancing and music and being families together and celebrating and being proud and floats and just everything we were brought up on. And then all of a sudden, after 500 years, this guy's a hero. And after 500 years, a group starts saying something and everybody's like, yeah, yeah, and turned it into an anti-Indigenous Peoples Day thing.
Sure.
And we're like, wait a second. And all this happened without the Italians or Italian Americans being invited into the discussion. It wasn't like, hey, we've come to the realization that Columbus represented this or that.
Hmm.
And we need the Italian American community to come in and sit down with the indigenous people, with the Mexican Americans, with the Puerto Rican Americans, with whatever Americans, the Native Americans. And we got to come to some resolve here about,
Right.
your hero is we have a problem with, and we need to talk about it. But that didn't happen. The statues were pulled down. The Chicago Public Schools, right off the bat, pulled the curriculum out of the school about
Mm.
Columbus. Evanston and Oak Park replaced Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day.
Wow.
There are states around the country already doing that. We're like, hey, wait a second. This is
Yeah.
something very important to our community. We disagree with what you're saying about Columbus, but
Hmm.
we'll show you. We believe the indigenous people need their day. We want them to have their day. We want
Right.
them to tell their story. We'll march with them arm in arm and celebrate with them and mourn with them. But
Sure.
why must it be at the expense of our day? Because not only, if you take away Columbus, not only are you taking away the holiday,
Hmm.
we should not replacing it with anything. So
Right.
we're left with nothing. And what ethnic group would stand by and have their holidays taken from them, and be dictated who your hero or icon can be? So that's this whole thing that's happening. This is where I'm involved in discussions with all the government levels,
Right.
whether
Yeah.
it's city, whether it's county, whether it's federal. I'm involved in this every day, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a day on this issue. And again, it's really not about Columbus the man. I didn't know the guy.
Right.
There are people out there that have the facts, but the reality here is that you're offending. You're trying to save or promote or address concerns of one ethnic group,
Hmm.
a couple ethnic groups, but by slapping the face of another ethnic group.
Right.
We're saying, and I got to say, in defense of the people who are technically in favor of replacing Columbus Day with the Indigenous Peoples Day, once I tell them that, hey, this is affecting a community, that one of the communities that was instrumental in the development of the city, county,
Sure. Yeah.
of this great country. There are more Italian Americans in Cook County than there are in almost every other county in the country outside New York and
Wow.
New Jersey. There's a lot of us here, and we're offended. We want to, and it's been said that the narrative about Columbus has been one-sided. And
Sure.
like, okay, well, let's open up the explanation. Let's open up the narrative. But to replace one perceived one-sided narrative with
Mhm.
another one-sided narrative, that's not a solution either.
Right.
So again, this is about, hey, we as Italian Americans, this affects us. This is something that's important to us. Let's come to some resolve, to some equitable resolve
Right.
that we can all live with, and it tells all our stories. We want to do that,
Right.
but don't just take it away from us, and don't invite us to the party to
Right.
talk about it. And that's what happened to us. So that's what I'm involved with right now.
Yeah. No, and you know what? You answered that perfectly. And I think if anything, if the last summer or just this past year has taught us anything, is it's made us more aware just about history in general. It brought attention to things that we never looked at maybe closely before, and it educated us on things that we didn't know before. In many ways, it was very good to have that. Circumstances, obviously, it did took that to have that happen. But I think we all learned over the past year, as did everyone else who just listened to this entire conversation. I appreciate you doing this. I really do.
Well, you know what? You're one of our little brothers over there, and we a big fan of yours. You know that we've had this conversation. You're incredibly creative. You're musical. I love your music. I listen to it all the time. I really, really do. I mean, I think you got some of these talents here, and you're taking it upon yourself to do this show, to do some writing, do all these great things. And I think your dad should be really proud of you, and you're going to carry on his legacy. And anything I can do, you're always part of us, and wish you the best, man.
I appreciate it.